What we observe is not nature itself. However, nature is subject to our method of inquiry. This is what German physicist Werner Heisenberg, the first to grasp the uncertainty inherent in quantum physics, said. For those who believe that science is a direct path to the truth about the world, this quote might be surprising, even disheartening. Is Heisenberg suggesting that our scientific theories are contingent on scientists? If so, does this mean that what we call scientific truth is nothing more than a great illusion? Every responsible scientist genuinely and humbly acknowledges that science does not have answers to most of the profound questions of humanity. However, our highly scientific age often pushes us to think the opposite, that science is capable of providing all the answers to life's questions, or will someday. Yes, science and technology seem to solve many of our problems, or, at the very least, offer potential solutions in the future. Perhaps that's why some people have turned science into more of a belief system, rather than a methodology for understanding the natural world. Science asks us to suspend any final judgment or strong belief because its findings are always subject to revision with new discoveries. We know almost everything we know thanks to science. However, what we know is perhaps a minuscule part of a vast universe, maybe not even of great significance. The purpose of this video is not to emphasize the inadequacy or limitations of science, but to contemplate how little we know and can know. In this video, we will discuss the big questions that science cannot answer. Enjoy watching. These kinds of questions fall into two separate categories: questions that science cannot answer, and questions that science has not yet answered. Science is a powerful tool, and since the term scientist was first used in 1833, many people have doubted science's ability to uncover the deepest mysteries and truths of the material universe. Most of the time, these individuals were mistaken. For example, science once widely accepted the theory of eugenics. Eugenics theory, which gained numerous supporters in the first half of the 20th century, implied the improvement of a human race through the elimination of disabled and ill individuals and the propagation of healthy ones. This theory, once popular not only among scientists but also among government leaders and philosophers, led to the so-called final solution of Nazism and other genocidal atrocities. The fields of human evolutionary genetics and contemporary anthropology not only proved eugenics science to be entirely wrong, but also presented a vast body of scientific evidence supporting the genetic unity of all racial groups. In the field of astronomy, we once believed that Earth served as the center of the known universe, but we have increasingly realized the sun-centered model, and, subsequently, that our little blue planet makes no claims of singularity. In another famous case, Albert Einstein, who initially believed in a static universe and attempted to prove his claim through scientific papers, had to be convinced by scientist Edwin Hubble that the universe was, in fact, expanding. Einstein referred to his original conclusion as the biggest blunder of his entire scientific career. Despite a past filled with erroneous conclusions, science prevails as it should in modern thought. We have constructed an unparalleled civilization and body of knowledge, much of which we owe to the advancements made possible by science. If explored, you can find hundreds of questions that science has yet to answer. Questions such as what dark energy is, why cats purr, or how gravity truly works. However, in this video, I will focus more on the profound questions that transcend the boundaries of scientific inquiry. First of all, let's begin with the most fundamental question about our existence. Why are we here? We have all asked ourselves this question at least once in our lives. Why am I here? Each of us wants to know the answer to this most basic human question. There are various forms of this question, such as, what is the meaning of life? What is my purpose in this existence, if there is one? What will happen to me after I die? And so on. These important questions essentially ask the same thing. Why do I exist? This question has not received any scientific answer, And it probably won't, because science has a defined scope and a limited domain. Science helps us understand the world, and then we must decide how to use this knowledge with higher ethical, moral, and spiritual guidance. Science, by definition, confines itself to knowledge systematized regarding the physical world. Due to these boundaries, scientific understandings can only take us so far. Moral judgments, aesthetic judgments, decisions about the applications of science, and conclusions about the supernatural are outside the realm of science. But this doesn't mean these areas are insignificant. In fact, fields like ethics, aesthetics, and religion profoundly influence human societies and their interaction with science. These fields are not unscientific. In fact, subjects like aesthetics, ethics, and theology are actively studied by philosophers, historians, and other academics. However, questions that arise in these areas are often beyond the reach of science. Only the strictest materialists believe that science can answer every human question. According to materialists, matter and motion constitute reality. Those who base their philosophies of life on these terms believe that perception defines what is real, which implies that everything else must be false. Of course, this is not science. It is a philosophical proposition, not a result of scientific reasoning. Science, by definition, confines itself to knowledge systematized concerning the material dimensions of existence, so its conclusions inevitably have a material nature, which makes believing that it encompasses everything in the material world and that humans can perceive only what our external senses grasp a misconception. Humans always desire higher and nobler goals. They constantly strive to reach a world beyond the one they live in and rise above the limits of their current reality. This aspiration for transcendence is one of the distinctive features of humanity. Most people seek answers about the purpose and meaning of life. That is the essence of the question, why am I here? Materialists claim that there is no such answer, that everything beyond the physical is an illusion, and that all meaning is reduced to mass and motion. However, this is an extremely unsatisfying and even harsh philosophy. Very few people wish to live their lives with such a perspective. Instead, we desire a deep inner life filled with love, beauty, and meaning. Another question is this: does the universe have a beginning? Many scientists now agree that the universe began with a Big Bang, a tremendous expansion of matter and energy from an extremely dense and hot singularity, giving rise to the known universe. This cosmological model stems from the ability to trace the ongoing expansion of the universe back to a period approximately 13.8 billion years ago, when all matter and energy might have emerged from a state of extreme density and temperature where the known laws of physics did not apply. How can science see so far beyond the past? The Big Bang theory, at this point, is still just a theory, but it provides a comprehensive and plausible explanation for a series of observations and measurements, including the observation that light, heat, cosmic background radiation, and the farthest galaxies are receding from each other at the highest speeds, according to Hubble's law. When you consider this observable fact, the Big Bang theory makes sense. We know that the distance between galaxies is increasing today, which should mean that galaxies were closer to each other in the past. However, not every scientist believes in the Big Bang theory. Firstly, the Big Bang cosmological model does not explain what caused the actual existence of energy, time, and space. Instead, it explains the birth of our current universe from an unseeable state of ultra-density and high temperature. Stephen Hawking believed that this situation might have arisen from something he called the unbounded proposal, where time and space are finite, but have no boundary, no beginning or end. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, some renowned scientists studying the beginning of the universe are not particularly fond of the Big Bang theory, because we can only make inferences rather than provide concrete supporting evidence. Nobel laureate Dr. Jim Peebles from Princeton University stated that he doesn't believe in the Big Bang theory due to the lack of concrete supporting evidence. It's unfortunate to think that there's a beginning when, in fact, we don't have a good theory about a beginning, he said. Accepting the Big Bang as a beginning raises another question. What existed before the Big Bang? The cosmic inflation theory, first developed in the 1980s by physicists like Alan Guth, Alexei Starobinsky, Andrei Lind, and Katsuhiko Sato, expresses the concept of exponential expansion in the very early stages of the universe. Today, it is one of the leading ideas about what might have happened before the deep and ancient fires of the Big Bang. Physics professor William Kinney says, people have been creating origin stories since they started telling stories, and this is just another iteration of that. However, there's a catch in this story. If cosmic inflation accurately explains what happened before the Big Bang, it could take the ultimate answer to where we came from beyond the reach of science. We don't know anything about what happened before inflation. Whether we could ever know is debatable, Kinney adds. One reason for this is that cosmic inflation may act as a giant eraser. All traces of the initial conditions of how it began are erased due to this exponentially expanding process. All traces of the conditions that led to inflation are wiped out by inflation itself. It starts from wherever it starts, but it ends up in the same places. New theoretical physics research suggests that we may be just the latest iteration of an eternal cycle of explosions and bursts. Perhaps, much like the cycle of existence and non-existence in Hinduism, the universe experiences the Big Bang event countless times, and this cycle repeats continuously. Astronomers have done everything, from observing the electromagnetic radiation left over from the young universe to measuring the abundance of the lightest elements. And they have found that everything aligns with the predictions of the Big Bang. It seems like an accurate portrait of our universe, but we know that the Big Bang picture is not complete. A piece of the puzzle is missing, and that piece is the early moments of the universe. The complex and undoubtedly poorly understood physics of this critical period could indeed lead to a radical reevaluation of our place in both time and the cosmos. However, we will have to wait for the next generation of cosmology experiments to understand what happened. Another big question is, are we alone in the universe? Some may think that we are the only intelligent life form in the universe. If this is the case, the universe would be unimaginably lonely. However, other researchers say that it's almost impossible for Earth to be the only hub for life. There could be as many as 40 billion habitable planets just in our galaxy. This suggests a vast potential for extraterrestrial life. There are certain necessary conditions for life to emerge. A planet not only needs the right mix of elements and conditions, but also a spark to ignite the emergence of living creatures. Then, of course, these life forms must evolve into intelligent beings in some way. Even for modern human science, the simplest life forms on our planet are still an extremely complex stew of chemical reactions and cells. We truly don't understand how they emerged, evolved, and survived in incredibly diverse environmental conditions. This complexity makes finding, identifying, and communicating with extraterrestrial entities much more intricate. Nevertheless, NASA has begun making statements about extraterrestrial life. If there really is no other life out there, then life here could be a statistical anomaly, the strangest kind of accident, or a deliberately created structure by a superior force. Perhaps this little pale blue planet truly is a jewel of the universe, unlike any other place, and it doesn't resemble anywhere else. However, we know that water and similar gases and elements exist on many other planets. If we continue to search and can find even the tiniest evidence, such as fossilized remains or tiny bacteria, it seems more likely that somewhere beyond the stars, another species is also looking up at the sky and contemplating potential neighbors in the universe. I'll prepare a comprehensive video on the topic of extraterrestrial life in the future, so for now, I won't delve into the details of this subject. I always need your support to create videos like this. So, right now is the perfect time to leave a like on the video. Let's move on to another question. Where does consciousness come from? We humans have awareness both of our surroundings and ourselves. Our minds are filled with inner dialogues and questions about who we are and our purpose in the world. As far as we know, we are the only creatures with such active consciousness. However, we have no idea where this consciousness comes from. Our brains, of course, are the central computers of our bodies, controlling biological functions and helping us navigate through all the cycles and challenges of life. Brain scans show how incredibly active our brains truly are, with 100 billion neurons firing incessantly, vibrating with continuous activity like a compact yet highly complex digital network. However, the brain is not the mind. Electrical activity does not explain how a physical substance can create a non-physical state like consciousness. Some religions explain consciousness as a gift from God placed within our bodies to guide us in this world. Scientists lean more towards biological origins. They view consciousness as a sum of biological processes that evolve towards more complex thinking and ultimately result in self-awareness. Scientists have determined that animals, such as dogs, almost certainly possess consciousness, although it may be at a lower or different level of awareness than that of humans. Consciousness is an inner state where humans experience thoughts, emotions, awareness, and experiences. However, there is no definitive and unanimous scientific consensus on what consciousness precisely is and where it originates. One of the big and enigmatic questions is the question of, how did life begin? Our planet is filled with trees, grass, birds, and bees. At the same time, it teems with countless bacteria. All of these are forms of life, and they all reproduce to keep their species alive. But how did life begin in the first place? How did a mass of cells transform from an inert collection of organic molecules into something lively, and sometimes even into an intelligent being? The short answer is this: we don't know exactly how life originated. There's also the possibility that aliens left a few microbes behind 4 billion years ago and let them roam free. And of course, many religions have creationist explanations for the origin of life. Many scientists believe that life is a natural progression for planets with the necessary components for biology, such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and other fundamental building blocks. With the right spark, like a lightning strike, these basic elements gradually transform into cell walls and DNA suitable for replicable life. Researchers continually conduct experiments in laboratories, hoping to narrow down the formula for creating life. However hard they try, it remains a mystery how these lifeless components manage to turn themselves into actual living beings. We may still be ignorant about the defining characteristics of life, or perhaps we are blind to the physical principles that truly bring life into existence. Regardless of the situation, the quest for the origin of life is likely to continue for a long time. There are theories like prebiotic evolution, abiogenesis, the RNA world theory, hydrothermal vent theory, extraterrestrial life, etc., regarding how life may have originated, but none of these theories provide definitive evidence about the origin of life. The question of the origin of life may perhaps remain an answer we may never find. Another major question is the universe truly infinite? When you look up at the sky on a dark night and see countless stars scattered, it's easy to think that the universe is infinite. They are beautiful ornaments just to watch. However, science cannot yet tell us whether the universe is infinite or finite. Like everything else, researchers have theories. After analyzing the maps created by observations made with the super-powerful telescope, the Baryon Oscillation Spectroscopic Survey, in New Mexico, a group determined that some universes have an extremely flat ground plan. The research was based on observations of only 1.2 million galaxies, which is just a drop in the universal bucket, but it provides a strong clue that our universe is not spherical. So, is this flatness infinite? It's impossible to say. One prevailing thought is that the Big Bang caused the universe to expand continuously faster than the speed of light. Since we cannot see beyond the speed of light, we may never know whether there is a boundary to the universe. We will likely spend our lives pondering the true nature of the universe's vastness. Like others, this is a mystery that captivates our minds, yet never provides real answers. Whether you are concerned about how large the universe can be, or how life originated on Earth, our existence is filled with strange natural phenomena that we cannot explain, and perhaps we never will. These questions can disturb us and may never leave us throughout our lives, but they are also an important part of the human experience. And we come to the final question, which, in my opinion, is the greatest question a human can ask. Is reality real? Reality is a slippery concept. Anyone who has awakened from a realistic dream knows what it feels like to be stuck somewhere between reality and a dream. These experiences support the idea that there are limitations in our senses. Perhaps our eyes, ears, and sense of smell do not tell the whole story about the reality around us. Maybe the things and people in our lives are just illusions. How do we know if these objects and creatures truly exist? Perhaps these are constructs of our inner mechanisms. They are produced for unknown purposes by our subconscious. The universe could be a hologram, a computer product designed in a matrix style to trap our minds and enslave us for a sinister purpose. Scientists and physicists are not certain if we can understand the nature of reality. As we delve deeper into the realms of physics, the mechanics of our universe become even more bizarre. We continue to discover new particles and fundamental forces that govern our bodies and our world, from molecules to atoms. It is entirely possible for the universe to consist of dozens or even thousands of dimensions that we can never directly experience. Reaching the end of the scientific rabbit hole we are digging seems highly unlikely. No matter how intelligent our collective species may be, reality may always remain an abstraction that we can never fully determine. A group of extraterrestrial beings may appear like this. As for me, I am just lonely human. Research will continue, and I'll see you in the next video.